Hello, hello! My name is Callista, and welcome back to When the Night Comes. In the last episode, we were speaking with Aurora, picking her brain a little bit. She sure seems to know an awful lot of what is going on here. It's rather disturbing how much she knows, and we were just asking her what happened last night. How did she get injured? Tell us what happened last night. How did you find the creature? Aurora daintily clasps her hands in her lap, taking her time to respond. I often check the graveyard and the forest surrounding the Ibex before I sleep. I like to know that there's no creatures out there that may need my help. You have Lux for that. Does she not do her job sufficiently enough? Lux is an incredible guard, but she doesn't care for creatures in the way that I do. She simply serves to protect us, not them. Why do you require a night guard, exactly? Before Aurora can speak, August pipes up.
Because we were fed up of them calling in problems and using up our limited resources. The only real issues they ever had was some angry townsfolk with a kitchen knife.
Okay. If you hadn't already noticed, the Ibex isn't exactly popular around here, so we assigned Lux as an unofficial guard to keep watch. Anyway, as I was saying, I did my usual nightly check, and I heard something in distress in the forest. I found a creature. The creature. A ghastly-looking thing, but it was crying. Crying? August lets out a tiny burst of laughter, quickly covering their mouth once the sound has escaped. I cannot explain, but that's what it sounded like. Hunched over against a tree trunk, clutching the bark, just wailing. I approached it. It simply ignored me and retreated into the forest. But she holds out her arm, the gashes deep and angry. As you can see, it wasn't so uninterested in me this time. It attacked me, pinned me to the ground. I only escaped because it heard something and scurried off. Shit. I look at August, and they're pinching the bridge of their nose, their eyes closed. I watch as August rises and walks to stand in front of the fire. Aurora hasn't taken her eyes off me, her expression inscrutable. You need to see a healer. She shrugs, uncaring, sparing her bleeding arm a fleeting glance. Like I said, it's just a scratch. She's right.
You don't know what the hell that thing is, and you're already unsettling enough without suddenly sprouting horns.
So August is thinking that this is I guess almost like a vampire or a werewolf. It can spread its curse through, gashing someone in the arm or whatever. You should seek out Ezra. At least we'll know he'll be discreet. She stands and quickly heads for the door as if the moment to leave this place couldn't have come sooner. Before she reaches for the handle... Wait. Yes?
Don't forget this kindness we've shown you here tonight. We could have thrown you in the dungeons for what you've been withholding, but I'd rather not see someone else disappear. Though our beliefs may differ, we are here to protect you.
I stand to join them, a show of solidarity in that promise. Aurora may not believe their words, but their purpose has and always has been to protect everyone. Stay out of the woods, Aurora. Creatures like this are not something you play house with. Make no mistake, this is something even you cannot feel sympathy for. It's killed mindlessly and unprompted. I don't think it has. I don't think it's killed mindlessly and unprompted at all. I think Aya is pissed that she got kidnapped, transformed into a fucking hell monster almost, and he's like, fuck you all, I escaped, now I'm gonna kill you as revenge. So I don't think this was mindless or unprompted in the slightest. She smiles, and for the first time it seems genuine, if not a little reserved. I'll come straight to you if I see it again. And thank you. Finally, in the comfort of privacy, I offer August a sympathetic look as they turn to face me. They look as tired as I feel. That was a lot. Is it bad that I remain unfazed by such conversations? Not knowing a bloody thing has become the norm, apparently. They take a seat, sinking deeply into the cushions with a grateful groan.
This town is infested with secrets. I can't wait until all of this is over, if it ever will be.
How am I supposed to do my job and protect these people when I'm left so in the dark? You care enough to keep trying, and that's all that matters. The people of Lunaris are lucky to have you, August. They look up at me, a gentle smile on their face. It touches their eyes this time, something affectionate reserved just for me. It'll be morning soon. With a heavy sigh, August curls their legs up beneath them. Yet another night of no rest. What's new in this town, I suppose I'd better try and get an hour or two of sleep. A pointed look, and I suspect a suggestion lingers on the tip of their tongue. One they might be hesitant to utter. Yes! Absolutely 100%. I am not wasting my time walking back to the wolf. Let's just sleep here. So, I take it upon myself to make the suggestion. Or rather, I take a seat beside them, kicking off my boots and placing them neatly at the foot of the sofa. August's eyes grow wide when I offer them my arm, but they don't hesitate to sink into my embrace. Just an hour or two? They smile as they nuzzle against my side, eyelashes already fluttering closed. Just an hour or two. The weight of having them pressed against me lulls us both into a calming sense of peace. Finally. In no time at all, August and I fall into a deep, comfortable sleep. I wake, barely refreshed, but with an inkling. A gut feeling, or something. The Ibeck is more desolate than I remember. The doors open easily like... Whoops, let's try that again. The doors open easily enough, even though there isn't anyone there to greet me, and the chapel within has only pockets of sunlight where it streams through the cracked windows. The rest is drowned in shadows, but shadows that I know are safe, I guess. My instincts warn me of nothing else other than the two bright presences perched atop the I never know how to pronounce that word. The dice? Dice? I'm gonna go with dice. My instincts warn me of nothing else other than the two bright presences perched atop the dice at the far end of the room. And, as they're here, I feel I don't need to worry about my own safety. Strange that I feel that way about two demonic entities of the highest class. Me, a hunter, alone in this abandoned temple, like the plot of some corny horror novel. Elaine and Omen's conversation peters out as I close the door behind me and approach them. The way they tilt their heads in perfect synchronization reminds me eerily of the Woodridge twins, but their expressions are quick to change to big, similar grins. Camille, I didn't expect to see you here. He slides off the dice and comes down to meet me. I incline my head at him in greeting, but my eyes are on the still seated Elaine. She stares back at me and smiles, bright and soft, and raises her delicate hand in a small wave. It's good to see you well, Elaine. Elaine beams at that, clapping her hands together. Oh, it's good to see you too. I'm sorry the last time we met, things were so messy. With a small oof, Elaine pushes herself off the dice and approaches me as well, and my second, I suppose, impression of her is that she's far cheerier and much less cautious than Omen. There's a spring to her step even as she strides, eating up the distance between us with wide, confident steps. She sketches a curtsy for me, and when I try to return it with a bow, she giggles. Thank you. I was hoping I would see you again. We both were. I heard that something had happened with Aurora. Yes, Omeros looked so worried. She picks anxiously at the cuff of her sleeve as she mentions him. My eyes are drawn to the movement, as are Omen's. And is that my imagination, or is that a tiny crease between his brow? Yeah, I get that Omen doesn't necessarily approve of Elaine and Amaros's relationship. Does he not like Amoros? Before things can get awkward, however, I clear my throat. An idea strikes me. I have a question, actually, for the both of you. Identical brown eyes blink at me. They really are twins, even if not human ones. When we were speaking with Aurora last night, she mentioned something. It seems in the last few years, supernatural activity has been at an all-time high in Lunaris. August figured it was only because of the volumes of creatures were increasing faster than the enforcers and our hunters could control them, but we have our doubts. And I know instantly I was correct to doubt, as the air around us seems to shift and change. Omen sucks in a deep breath, his hands going to clutch at the back of his neck, eyes averted. Oh! Omen, what did you do? What did you do, buddy? Elaine purses her lips and clasps her hands in front of her, but she keeps her gaze on me. For a moment, she's no longer a soft-eyed young woman with large teeth and a pretty smile. For a fraction of that moment, I perceive her as the thing behind these human details. What have you both done? What have you both done? Oh God. Something old and seething and immense gazes at me behind those eyes. The pressure nearly crushes my lungs with the force of her presence. Also, before I forget, I'm gonna grab this. Whoop, nope. There we go. Then it dissipates. So fast I could be convinced I was imagining it. You weren't imagining it, Camille. You weren't. And it's because Omen's hand is on her shoulder. Oh. Out of the two of them, Elaine scares me more. Elaine strikes me as... She's this very, softly spoken, oh, I'm Elaine, ba-ba-ba. But she's got a lot of power behind her. And unlike Omen, I think Elaine would use it. Omen seems to be rather reserved. He's rather soft. And I don't mean that as a diss. I think that's just... I mean that as more of like a personality trait. I don't think there's anything wrong with being a softer person. Elaine, there's a hardness there. There's a harshness to her. Out of the two of them, I feel like Elaine would be more liable to attack someone. I don't just mean like out of the blue, but I mean like if Omen saw a threat, I think he'd run. If Elaine perceived a threat, I think she'd go for it. I think she'd just attack. I think she's a lot deadlier than her appearance would have you believe. And it's because Omen's hand is on her shoulder. No, it's fine. Camille isn't trying to... He trails off. Elaine pats his hand, but slides it off and turns to face me fully. The smile is back, if just a little sharper than before, and she raises a hand. I almost flinch, but all she does is point at my weapon. Can you please remove your hand from that? That's a lot to ask of me after that little display. Elaine inclines her head. You have a point, I suppose, but all the same, it will do you no good here. She's right. Galling that she would point it out so matter-of-factly, but even as I reluctantly tear my fingers from my weapon, the answer I was seeking strikes me. It was you, wasn't it? You're the reason for the increase in paranormal activity around Lunaris. It isn't her fault, but mine. Omen is still rubbing at the back of his neck, as though worrying an old scar. When he meets my gaze, his aura is dimmed, sad. Omen?
Some mortal years ago, I had an argument with my father.
He pauses, mouth moving without sound. Elaine shifts on her feet where I watch her from the corner of my eye, but she doesn't move. Her presence is once again extinguished and kept tightly under control.
It ended in my departure to your realm. He was unhappy with me leaving and tried to prevent me crossing over. I had to go into hiding, and in the journey between, it's possible I might have damaged the boundaries between our worlds. Here in this town.
Ah, okay. Okay. Oh. And your father isn't planning on making a trip across to get you back, is he? The thought leaves me cold as much as it makes me want to stare at the ceiling and wonder out loud what exactly this town has done that caused so many fucking problems to become attracted to it like flies to a bloated corpse. That would be just the thing we need, wouldn't it? Lucifer himself coming through to give us another slap on the arse. No, he cannot wander so far, not as far as us. And Omen took, measures to stop us from finding him. Wait, what? I think that's an error. I think it should be the other way round. No, he cannot wander so far, not as far as us. And Omen took, measures to stop him from finding us. She gives Omen a look, but he purposefully ignores her. My eyes are on the hand he's still using to rub the back of his neck. I assumed it was a nervous habit, but now that I am paying close attention, I can see something that looks like it might be a scar snaking out from under his collar. Yes! If I remember correctly, this was one of the codex entries. He scratched up all his back. And then he went to Ezra. That was when he met Ezra. So I'm guessing the measures he took, presumably it either relied on like his blood or something like that. So he had to scratch up his back to do that, but then he was heavily injured. Okay. It's difficult to spot though. And as if he's thinking the same thing, Omen yanks his collar up to hide it. Elaine presses close to his side, their shoulders touching. Their tails intertwine briefly, almost like a hand squeeze gesture of its own, before she leans away again and looks at me. We apologize for the danger we have brought to this place. It isn't me you should be apologizing to, I think. Omen gives me a pained look, but inclines his head.
You're right. I didn't know the boundaries would be so badly affected by my crossing. By all means, destroying the brand, the markings that allow my father to seek me out should have been enough.
Okay, so he had a brand on his back, and he used his claws to either destroy it, to scratch it up so that it wouldn't work, or to cut it off his skin. Got it, okay. Oh god.
I also hoped the boundaries would heal on their own, as they do. Likely they are, but too slowly. Perhaps.
We need to fix this. We need to fix this ASAP. He trails off, looking at something behind my shoulder. I turn to follow his eyes. Armoros Woodridge stares at us from where he's half peeking from the front door. His eyes widen like a cornered rabbit when he realizes we've noticed. But before I can even open my mouth to reassure him, Elaine makes a gleeful little noise and runs to Armoros. Omen snorts, the sound almost like a laugh. I was almost afraid that you don't like him. He kept the news of Elaine's arrival from me. That should be enough for me to resent him. He says that, but his eyes are soft as we look on. Elaine is holding Armoros's hand now, who looks remarkably less afraid, and whatever they're talking about is too low for me to hear, but his smile is bright. I see her smile too, and her tail curls affectionately around his waist. They make their way back over to us, Armoros eyeing me warily. I nod at Armoros when he glances at me again. The way he seems to jump a little before smiling back is almost amusing. Have you come to fetch me or Elaine? Neither, actually. I've come to tell you that Aurora will be here soon. I wanted to... He trails off uncertainly, probably not sure about betraying his sister's view on things yet. I'm not sure how much of that I can sympathise with, but after the mess last night, I'm nothing if not glad I don't have to see that woman again just yet. I have a feeling she would have something galling to say about all of this. This that I should also... What? This sentence has completely wrecked my brain. I have a feeling she would have something galling to say about all of this. This that I should also make a... That seems like a very odd sentence to me. I guess it works. I feel like there should be a comma that, like, this, that I should also, like, this thing. I guess it works, I guess. I'll read it as is. I have a feeling she would have something galling to say about all of this. This that I should also make a report on. I scratch my head, thinking about what exactly will go in the mission report for this entire mess. Just considering it is already causing me a soul-deep pain. I need to go find our car anyway. Oh, that would be a good idea. I hope that I'll see you later, Camille. I'm sure you will. He hums in agreement, reaching for me as though he wants to put his hand on my shoulder, but he seems to think better of it at the last moment and turns it into an awkward wave before walking away. I linger for a moment longer, watching Armoros and Elaine's conversation. Armoros is smiling at something she says, and the last thing I see as I turn away from them is Elaine kissing his cheek. Aww, very cute. The streets are dead empty when I leave. It's eerie, almost, this sudden stillness, as though the town itself is instinctively aware of the wrongness it's experiencing, withdrawing into itself. I wonder, truly, how much the people know, how much they're willing to know. From what Aurora said, it hasn't always been this way for Lunaris, but I find it hard to imagine this before. I'd imagine the people know. When I say no, I don't mean like the ins and outs, but I'd imagine they'd be able to feel that something is wrong. I mean, they've had all of these deaths, they've had all of these creatures coming, and this boundary between this realm and wherever Omen is from, if it's been so completely weakened, again, I'd imagine that people realise something is wrong, something is terribly, terribly wrong, but they probably don't know the ins and outs of it. It must have been years ago, according to what she said at August. But all Omen and Elaine have done is confirm that there was an increase in supernatural activity. Not what the enforcers here have done to combat it. They made monsters. That's what they've done to combat it. You fight fire with fire, you fight monsters with monsters. Nor did their affirmation lend anything to ease the growing dread in me. The one that's been sitting like poison in the back of my mind since I first started snooping in August's office for Aya's records just a few weeks ago. That was a few weeks ago? It feels like it was just yesterday. I think that's my other complaint about this game. It does a really bad job with establishing a timeline. Because literally, it feels... If you'd have asked me, I would have said it had been 2 days since we were in August's office. We rummaged for Aya's records, then the next day we went and got the gang together, and then that night we went and did the dungeon heist. And then this is the day after. It does not feel like weeks. I really think this could have been improved with if they frequently mentioned it's been so long since this, it's been so long since that. Like I said, it literally feels like maybe Camille has been in Lunaris for maybe a week, 2 weeks. However, very clearly in terms of the story, it's probably been a couple of months. I think they could have done that. They could have done that better, the passage of time. Nor did that affirmation lend anything to ease the growing dread in me. The one that's been sitting like poison in the back of my mind since I first started snooping in August's office for Aya's records just a few weeks ago. I'm a general, but I'm still just another hunter in the end. The enforcers, the allies, the support network at my back all account for much of my success and strength. It dictates how I'm to move, act, think. And now what if I can't even trust it to hold my weight? That I don't know the full truth is nothing new. That I'm only ever told enough to commit myself to the contract at hand is nothing new. But those deliberate acts of withholding information have always been passed off as an attempt to protect the hunters. And for the most part, that's been true. Not this time, though. This is... The sound of a bird taking flight snaps me out of my thoughts. I shake my head, blink, and look up to the sparse, twisting branches of the forest. Somehow, my feet have taken me here. Taken me on a path I didn't know I could remember so well, actually. And when I look down at the ground, I see the rock to which Alcar hides his flipping heck. I've only got like 40 seconds left on my timer. The wheels came off at the end. Somehow, my feet have taken me here. Taken me on a path I didn't know I could remember so well, actually. And when I look down at the ground, I see the rock to which Alcar hides his cave. He hasn't bothered to keep the trapdoor concealed, I realise, as I walk around it. There the entrance is, inviting to all. Thinking about the half-lichen, I doubt that's true, but... Hesitantly, I kneel by it and knock. And is anyone home? Well, we'll have to find out in the next episode. So, until then, please remember to like if you enjoyed, leave a comment below, and if you wanted to subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. I've been Callista. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.